What's up, family?
Hello, hello.
We are back, my friends, and this time it's gonna be different. no,
So
no
excited.
problems. This week is not last week, folks. We will bounce back and come back with a vengeance. Today's show is gonna be incredible. This is No Hangover. I am Kujo Speaks.
I'm Nikki Hagen. I feel like I need a cool nickname eventually.
No, you don't. Somebody asked me that the other, or no, in the group text, David was like, "Well, since we're using nicknames, my name's Spider Man." I'm like, you know what, bro? You gonna leave me alone, sir?
No, that's Papa Love.
Papa Love, that's that guy. So I told you guys a little bit last week that we were going to have a special guest on, and the stars all aligned, and we have this special guest on today. I'm very excited. This is someone I've known in and out, off and on for like 30 years or so. Like I was a little kid, and he was a big part of the influence that got me into hip hop and the Detroit underground hip hop scene. Seeing his journey off and on throughout the last however many decades has been absolutely incredible. And it turns out the stars have aligned and we're both in recovery now. So not only have we been in hip hop and doing all these different things at the same times and partying together for a long time, now we're both in recovery. So I'm very extremely excited to have this man on. Welcome to the party, Mr. DJ Dirty Y.
What's going on, man? The whole time you were talking about how long it's been, and you were a lot younger back then. All I'm looking at is this in my little preview camera. I'm like, damn, Cujo's just dating the hell out of me before we go live.
I mean, you got to. It's because that history, man, especially within the recovery community, it's like longevity in anything isn't for us when we were in active addiction. It's hard for us to see people that we hang out or have hung out with for 20 years because a lot of them people are in jail or passed away, or it's just these days knowing somebody for 20 years and still being able to kick it with them or talk to them is a blessing because it hasn't been happening for a lot of people.
I actually have a friend. I won't really say his name, but I have a friend that was like really bad in the heavy things, even in high school, and like went on tours with major bands, and it had gotten so bad this guy disappeared for forever. He's a little bit of an influence for my sobriety, and one day he just showed up at my trivia night out of nowhere, and it's been cool to watch this guy. Sorry, I got sidetracked, but it's been
There's
cool
no
to watch
such
this
thing
guy.
as sidetrack. It's about you today, bro. Wherever you want to go is where this show goes.
But it was cool seeing him, and I mean, he's recovering from much more serious things than me, you know what I mean? And seeing his bounce back, his glow up has been pretty awesome.
That's
I
incredible.
think that's awesome that you guys have been friends for so long. I grew up in like a town that was so small, and that's where I was like my whole life. So like I grew up with all of these people, and I have two friends who I've had for like my whole life. And the rest of my friends who would have been like 10, 20-year plus long friendships are all gone to addiction. It's crazy because I would have had like a whole handful, and now most of them are gone. It's horrible.
Yeah. It's a reality we face, and that's I think that's one of the big reasons why, for one, that we do this show, for two, that we do 3A, all alcoholics and addicts. For those of you who haven't heard of 3A, 3A is a group of us that get on Zoom like 4 or 5 times a week, and we have group chats that we all stay in touch with each other and support each other. And we're also moving that into being a full-fledged nonprofit at some point to be able to do a lot more work in this space. So that's why we have No Hangover. It's for everybody who is trying to party or wants to party that doesn't indulge in the normal party things anymore. We feel like there needs to be a place for us to be able to normalize wanting to have fun and do our thing. So that's why we're here. That's the mission. I'm really hoping we can do some good. Real quick, I want to say what up to everybody in the building. David is here as usual. Papa Love. What's good? JP's not sleeping. He in the building today. So what's good, my ninjas? I know the rest of the family will be in here too. So what's up to y'all? Thank y'all for joining. I really appreciate it. So I feel like we should get this week started on Drink of the Week. This week we decided to do Bring Your Own Drink. I decided to get fancy this week because I didn't know if Nikki had a blender, and I didn't want to do the blender drinks on the other weeks and like make you go get a blender.
I actually just got my new blender in the mail yesterday, so I'm all ready for it.
See, I could have, man. I should have told you. That's my fault. That's my fault. Dirty.
Okay.
You drink whatever you got over there. What you got? Water, coffee, energy drinks. What
I
you got over
got
there? You got a drink?
coffee and LaCroix. I'm gonna
Ew.
just keep calling it LaCroix since that's how I started.
I'm not
Forget
with it.
LaCroix.
All right, let's get the mix cam on here. So I decided to do a virgin margarita today. It literally took me like 30 minutes to find this simple syrup. And here's the dangerous part about where this is located. It's in the alcohol aisle and it's in the mixers section. So as I'm looking around, like I felt kind of dirty, like walking around that aisle, looking around as if I was looking for some booze. I'm like, this is a weird spot. I got to get out of here quick. Like I can't take it inside. Yeah, right. So I finally found it. Boom. Okay, cool. So what it's comprised of is this simple syrup. It's lemon juice. It says however much lemon juice, and then just these and some ice. I didn't grab my ice, but these are frozen, so I figured I should be straight. We'll see. I don't know. Now, the best part about it is I bought my wife the blend jet for Christmas, and I've used it way more than she ever has.
I think that's similar to the one I got. It's not necessarily the blend jet, but it is like one of those little portable ones. I'm excited to use it.
It's dope. It really makes it so much easier to do anything. Like we get these little smoothie packs, and we like all the kids will use those or whatever. And having these little to-go things, you don't have to take the thing off and wash the big thing and do all it. You know, if somebody left it messy, literally you just take some soap and water, put it in this thing, and it's clean.
Oh, that's awesome.
Makes life a lot easier.
See, I love smoothies, but for some reason, ever since I became an adult, I have never owned a blender. And I don't know, it's just like one of those things I've never really cared to get, but like I'm always like, oh, I could really go for a smoothie or I could really go for a milkshake.
Once you have it, I promise you won't go back. I'm not thinking this is going to be too good, though, to be real with you. I probably should have grabbed the ice. Let's see. I don't know. What y'all think?
I think it's going to be good.
But you're an optimist, though. So
I am.
She thinks everything's going to be great. She's like, oh, this isn't, the LaCroix is not bad.
They are.
It's the worst
They're
stuff
not
I've ever tasted in
great.
my life.
He wants to say hi.
What's up, puppy?
Hi.
That's Macho.
Hi, Macho. Didn't Macho have some medical issues recently? Is Macho all right?
Yeah, he's got a permanent old man injury.
Oh, man.
His back leg, he's got a bum leg now.
I'm worried about that with my Cane Corso because for one, he's a bigger dog, and I know bigger dogs, I have a ton of joint issues as they get older. So I'm a little worried about that.
He's huge.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
part pincher, so he thinks he's giant.
All the smaller dogs do. So do smaller men. It's that Napoleon complex.
I feel like it's always opposite. Like the little ones act so big and the big ones act like little babies. I used to have a Siberian Husky and he was huge. And he was just like the littlest baby ever. He's the best thing.
Big Daddy and Mama's boys. All right. The drink is made. I will give it a try after the toast as usual. So here is to those that have passed before us due to this disgusting disease. Those that are fighting beside us, trying to fight this monster, and those that are on the edge or on the fence and might come over to this side. Come on over, baby. The water's fine. Cheers.
Cheers.
Lightsaber.
I didn't have anything. I had the Force.
Ooh.
Is it good?
Woo. Oh, that lime juice. Put a lot of lime juice and you'll feel like you're drinking some liquor.
JP says, say Siberia again, Nikki. Why? Siberian Husky.
JP's a bully.
He like acts like I like talk so strange. Like, do I have like an accent or something?
You have a little bit of an accent.
Like, what kind of an accent?
I don't know.
Pittsburgh?
That's like being out in California and people telling me I have a Midwest accent. I'm like, what does that mean? What are you?
Yeah, it's so weird to hear other people say that you have an accent whenever, like, and you know, other people their voices sound normal to them, and they do think that we have accents. Like French people, they probably think our voices are so weird.
They think we sound dumb.
Michigan is the only state that doesn't think we have an accent. Every other state will admit it wholeheartedly. We're the only one that's like, y'all sound weird. Like when I lived in Washington for a while, this girl got mad at me because I laughed at her when she said hella. Even like words were so different. She said hella. I was like, damn. I was like, that's funny. I don't hear nobody say that anymore. She's like, what's funny about that?
Same thing in Cali.
Rude. I was like, y'all still say hella. Okay, sorry.
The only thing I've ever noticed with like the Pittsburgh accent is anytime I say yins, somebody points it out.
Say and it's who?
Yins?
What is that?
Like y'all.
Oh.
Like yins better get your asses in here.
I've never heard that.
You've never heard yins?
Not once in my life.
Really?
Never.
Yeah, we're total yinsers over here in Pittsburgh, and it's like so normal. But everyone else just thinks it's so weird. They're like you. They're like, what the hell is a yins?
It's a little odd. But hey, everybody's got their thing into each their own.
Has an accent, sir.
Facts. At some sort of accent somewhere. Everybody's unique. We're all unique, y'all. Speaking of uniqueness, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing, man. Welcome to the show, DJ Dirty White. I want to give you the floor. So Nikki and I do a lot of Zooms and a lot of meetings, and we do a lot of share, sections where people share or whatnot. So I figured this would kind of be more of like you just telling the people what's up and whatever you want to get off of your chest and let them know what today is. I don't want to break the big news. I want you to break the big news, bro.
I'm like, is JP gonna be popping off when I'm talking? Or?
Probably.
Today is my 3 year. I got my third coin today. My 3rd year dry today. Right.
Let's go.
Amazing. Congrats to you. Look at that picture. Wait.
We're all red to match my coin. I'm not even playing.
Oh,
yeah, he don't play with the. He always got it fitted up, colored, coordinated.
Fact, 2 years ago, on my first year of sobriety, I waited like a week after, and I was like, "Dang, man! I thought somebody was supposed to give me a coin." Nobody did. So I was like, "Well, if I ain't proud of myself, you know what I mean, then like I should be the most proud of me." So I went and bought myself a coin, and I bought my second coin, and I bought my third coin.
Facts.
I just want to collect them. So it's been a journey. I quit for different reasons than most people. I quit because it's the poison that killed my big sister. So with me, it was kind of a no-brainer just because alcoholism has been a problem in my family. I don't want to throw any names, just since I was a kid. And it's broke my mom's heart a lot. And when it finally, killed one of us, it was time. You know what I mean? I didn't want to see my mom cry anymore. And my dad has been, I mean, you always say alcoholic, you know what I mean? Thank you, JP. You always say alcoholic, and I can't say that my dad isn't anymore. He just always has been. I mean, like keeping a fifth of vodka in his car all the time. And he was bad. He would quit here and there. And my dad was the one we were worried was going to die from it, because we went to see him in a hospital a couple times for it. And he even got sober when she died. After all this time, and I didn't believe it until I'm sure you remember last year in spring, I found my dad half dead on the floor. That wasn't just drinking. That was doctors screwing up his medication and other things. But when he finally got better, and he kept telling me he has Alzheimer's, and he kept telling me he still had beer in there, and I didn't find it, and it was almost like he was poking at me. And when he got out and he got better, he goes right into his room and he comes out with a 6-pack of beer and he put it into my chest and he said, "I told you couldn't find it. I don't need that anymore." And so my dad has also been my inspiration to stay sober, and people like you, Kujo, who tell me that I'm an inspiration to get sober. I lost her right before the COVID lockdown, and I lived alone. So I quit drinking that day. And the reason why I did it so quick is because when she died, I poured a shot of Jameson, and I didn't take it, but I was going to. And I just thought that was the craziest and most backwards thing in the world. Alcohol just killed my sister. I said goodbye through FaceTime because of COVID. And they tell you that they make them comfortable. She wasn't fucking comfortable. for anybody listening, like if you need inspiration to not do it, dying from drinking looks like one of the most painful things I've ever seen in my entire life. And she was non-responsive and still just in so much pain. So it's a gnarly drug, and I don't push anybody else to get sober. They get their own life choices to make, but and I think you knew Katie also. We just lost another friend on Christmas Day to drinking. So it's really like seeing one thing after another, that keeps me sober, and mostly my big sister. You know what I mean? It's been it's the main thing that's tough. I only really miss having it in my hand, but like social drinking.
That's one of the hardest parts, man. That's one, and that's exactly why I feel like we started this show is because of that. Like, out of everything I think we lose when we stop doing the drugs and alcohol, it's that social aspect and who we build ourselves to be. Like we build a family out in these bars. When we were doing, out at the bar we go to all the time in Mount Clemens or whatever, like that's a family in there. And like you mentioned, Katie,
I've lost an army of friends.
Yeah,
it's sober, just don't want nothing to do with me anymore. And tight friends, people that I thought would come by here during the lockdown and see me and drop off a sandwich or something.
Right.
No,
you figure out,
damn, all these years of working in the bar, that's all you liked about it?
Because you figure out, like I started thinking about it too when I got sober, why I was losing these friends. And I started thinking about the times that I saw them or hung out with them outside of said bar. And when you think about it, you really don't. Like, I'm not going to eat breakfast sober with these people. I'm not kicking it at the beach with them, chilling. Like, anytime we saw each other, it was because it was a turn up. And it still sucks because those people do become your family throughout those years. You know what I mean? And it hurts losing those connections. But sorry, man, you got to go.
But I've made like new friends in light of my sobriety. Also, you know what I mean? That's also cool. And we got sober at a great time because now I still go out to these shows and everything. I went out to see my homie at the Sanctuary, and they had every flavor of liquid death water, and they were said
Nice.
trying to appeal to sober people. I'm like, yeah, with $5 waters, I'll take it. Like that's cool. They try harder. Loving Touch in Ferndale just had a sober New Year's Eve.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta get in tap and in touch with all these places because I have the idea of the Sober Lounge, which is an actual standalone sober bar where we can all go kick it. So hearing that stuff, I didn't even know that those things were available. So that's incredible. Very happy about that stuff. So for those of you that don't know, a big part of what DJ Dirty White used to do was host drunken trivia at these bars. And it was the most incredible thing in the world. Even at the small little bars that you'd be at, sometimes they would be packed 4 people that came to play drunken trivia. And it really turned up. It turned every situation up. So that went away obviously during COVID. What was that like?
Well, I say like, and someone else said this to me. Oh, my therapist said this to me. He said, well, like, I wasn't just grieving my sister, I was grieving my livelihood. And then someone asked me one day what I really lost during that lockdown besides for my sister. And I said, are you kidding me? I'm a DJ. I work in a bar. They're telling me that I don't deserve the pandemic assistance money because I'm just an entertainer. They're literally telling me you're just an entertainer. I obviously lost all my bar gigs. It was the day before St. Patrick's Day when they shut down Michigan. I don't know a DJ in the world that was ready
to make some bread that day.
That's some bill paying money, that gets you by the slow season. Thanks. And so it was rough. I literally lost everything, and I tried getting on, if you remember, to DJ during the lockdown, but like, boy, getting sober right before a lockdown and dealing with a loss, that's an extra kind of hell. And like I said, I lived alone, and I would try to get on, and I would DJ for people, and I saw how much it was helping other people. So I kept doing it, even though I was still in the pits. Right. Some days I didn't want to, but there was one girl, I wish I could remember her name right now, and she messaged me one day. I'm going to get emotional on the shit. I don't care.
Yeah, we do too. Hey, look, trust me, we do too, bro.
I was getting down on myself because the virtual tips weren't coming through, and that was the only way I could get money, and they kept shutting down our feeds. So I was giving up, you know. I'm like, why am I even doing this? I have to keep walking off screen to go cry, you know. And she messaged me and said, me and my daughter are alone right now, and her daughter was like 5 or 6, and she said she's so scared and so worried, and so am I, and the only thing we look forward to every day is your DJ mix. She dances around the kitchen. She loves it so much. So I kept that going. And then I thought about trivia, and I actually started hosting. Well, we interviewed DMC from Run DMC, who's also sober and one of my biggest sober inspirations.
That was huge.
DMC, who also almost died from drinking. We almost lost him before Jam Master Jay. He was drinking. Do you remember what he said? How many 40s a day?
I don't. It was excessive as hell. It was
Something
a lot.
like it. Yeah, he was trying, actually. If you guys have to look up the story. He was actually trying to drink to die. But he's been one of my biggest inspirations, and he told us on an interview to adapt. He said life might never be the same, and look at us right here.
Mhm.
He said everyone needs to adapt to this virtual stuff, you know. And so I started doing trivia, and all the trivia people were coming, and it was dope because they were all sending me screenshots of their living room, and I saw all these people that I met through the years, the old school people from 15 years ago, the new school people. And then I was like, yeah, he's right. So we kept that going to this day. Actually, I still host virtual trivia for whatever Quicken Loans is now.
Yeah.
Building
Rocket Mortgage, I think it is now.
A couple of those teams still hire me every few months
awesome.
to do their group outing virtually.
That's so dope. So I'm very excited to show you guys this because Dirty White's back, baby.
Sweet.
Drunken Trivia is back. Now, is this a recurring thing? It's every Thursday night?
And this is after 3 years. I had one client that hired me after the lockdown. Every other bar either tried to cut my pay in half or just never called me back. And I couldn't get gigs anywhere because I was vocal about everything I was going through, and unfortunately destroyed my reputation. And everyone thought I was a head case, you know, emotionally unstable. And I was. I lost my damn mind. And anybody who goes through that is going to lose their mind. You go through that and then get stuck by yourself for 3 months when there's a global pandemic. There was just so much to be scared of, you know? And
honestly, I'm sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to say it really shows your strength that you were able to get sober during a loss on top of COVID while trying to make money to, you know, pay your bills. That's a lot of shit piled on top of each other for one person to deal with.
It's constant motivation because of the people around me. I want to shout out my friend Kimmy. This is one, you know, Kimmy. This is one example. My friend Kimmy is a teacher at Clintondale High School. And up until the pandemic, every year I came to talk to her kids to inspire them because of my successful career. And I had gone from that to, well, I'll get to that in a second. But she worked at the school, and she called and said, you know, you want some food? And I'm like, I'd love it. What do you got? And she said, they're going to throw away the stuff in the gymnasium because they canceled all the games. So thank you, Robin. So she brought me all the hot dogs and buns and nachos and nacho cheese and jalapeno slices. And I was like, dope, you know. And then I had my, you know, another friend, Patty. She brought me all the stuff to make spaghetti. So I really had people looking out for me, you know, and making me food. And from those tips, I have a picture somewhere of a full hatchback, the back of my truck full of groceries. And that was because of people looking out for me. So, you know, a lot of friends that I had, you know, like that I thought would be there really disappointed me. But people that I wasn't sure of came through. And now those people are some of my best friends. You know what I mean? I just,
big facts.
Yeah, I was like, all right, well, you guys all got promotions. Y'all got demotions. You know, like I'll give y'all an elbow when I see you. You know,
you have to. And we talk about this all the time. Like me finally meeting. Oh, my bad, bro. Me finally meeting this crew, 3A. Everybody I've met through these Zooms and the people you see in the comments here. It provided that, because honestly, you get cagey when you get sober and you have a big family. I got 8 kids and my wife. And I don't want to hang out with anybody else, because everybody else that I think of to hang out with are people that I knew in the scene, you know. So for a long, long time, up until I met this crew, I really didn't fuck with nobody besides work. My family at 93.97 Network. I go do shows and, you know, hang out with them. and then I'm at home. So it's awesome to see, for one, that there are a group of people like those people, and that here at home, someone that I know and love, like you and I, could actually get together and go get lunch. Like, that'd be dope. I don't know anybody else around here that's sober like that, for me to be able to go outside of my home and kick it with, or that I would even want to. You know what I mean? I just don't waste my time these days, because most of them, come on, man, you can drink, you can do, come on, man. Like,
And that just happened to me. I want to tell you about that. But more importantly, I want to say that I have a lot of drinking friends. It took them a while, but they worked to adapt to my friendship. Like at first it was just ignorant, like they didn't understand that when they start getting drunk and affectionate, that's a trigger for me, because that was right before my sister got angry. Drunk and affectionate made anger was coming later. And so a lot of them didn't know how to act, but now they do. Like now I walk into the bar and I'm greeted with a water, or a sugar-free Red Bull or something like that. So it's really cool. Actually, one experience, Brian from Critical Bill, the Critical Bill show before last, I always go up with them and do jump around.
Yeah.
And the one place in my life that I was always safe from depression and anxiety was the stage. Ever since COVID, that's not anymore. My first time back on stage, I cried on stage.
Oh, damn.
It's wild. And but it was while I was doing a heavy song. And then I was just randomly out of nowhere, I got severe anxiety. I'm standing on the side of the stage for Critical Bill, and the part of the show where they hand around the bottle of Jack Daniels. Now, I don't ever get the thirst to want to drink it. I don't smell it, and I'm like, whoa. I just was like, like I'm looking around and everyone's hammered around me. I'm like, I just don't fit in right now. I'm just going to go. And I was going to Irish goodbye, like right out of the back door. And Brian came over, Powered Ice, and he passed the bottle to the girl standing in front of me. And like, I'm sure he could see I was twitching, and Brian's one of my best friends in the world. And I remember plain as day, he goes, runs back to the drum riser and grabs a bottle of water and comes back.
Yeah, let's go.
And then my anxiety was just like, whoosh.
Yeah.
And I went out and we nailed Jump Around, and that place was going bananas.
But that's how Dice is, though. Like, he's, Nikki, you got to imagine, he's like, what, 6'2", 6'3", something like that. Big teddy bear looking, strong, just smart, wise man. Just the aura and the energy that this man exudes it's a hug just being around the guy. So I can imagine, like, I can feel what you felt in that moment, and that's incredible.
That's very nice.
Yeah, with your story, I do have a quick question, if you don't mind. You say you're still like doing the trivias and the DJing and stuff like that. Do you feel like that, like your workspace ever triggers you today with your sobriety? Like, do you ever feel like you want to drink because you're around it?
That's a good question. Actually, not this last St. Patrick's Day, but last year, I thought I was ready. And I signed up for a 12-hour DJ gig. At a bar known for heavy drinking and partying. It was less I was ready, more I need the money. And to this day, unfortunately, the DJ that had me fill in for him hasn't spoken to me. But I bombed my set. I finished it out. I was proud I finished my day, but I pretty much had a 12-hour long panic attack. And I looked at the floor almost the entire day, because these days, people are so disrespectful. They were writing their requests on napkins, crumpling them up and throwing them at me. Not because I was ignoring them. They just were being, and I was like, wow. And the only time I didn't look down is a couple friends stopped to see me for about 2 hours, and I talked to them, but I finished out that shift, and that shift broke me. And I was like, I can never work in a bar again. I can't entertain people anymore. But then I went out and I did all those events, the family-friendly events, and thought, well, this is my niche now, family events, like this isn't so crazy, but I miss it, bro. Like I miss it so much. I miss making people dance. I miss that 12 o'clock power hour when people are going crazy and singing along the flow ride. I miss that so much. And I'm like, I have to find a way to get back into it. I'm not 60 yet, I'm only pushing 50. I can still do this a few more years, And nobody would give me a chance. I pretty much gave up. And then my boy Dante called me, and I was actually having a really bad day. I was in the middle of a panic attack. And I told him, about another friend, that not Katie, another friend had passed, and I was having a bad day. And I said, I got some good news. you want to do trivia? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, Matt Aubrey, DJ Matt A, who's a big DJ in the area. He said he's got a bar, Tap and Barrel. They want a trivia night, a trivia host. And I called him right away, and they're interested in meeting with you. And I had the meeting, and I went and sat down with him, and I hadn't sold myself as an entertainer in so long. So I'm walking in there with shaky hands. The only thing I kept telling myself is, this is an entertainer. This guy is a DJ that I'm about to talk to. So I went and sat down, and it was like the Matrix sounds kicked in, and I just locked on him like a robot, and it was like riding a bike. And I said, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I've been sober for 3 years. It's going to be a different, pony riding this thing. And I'm going to have to do it differently to avoid the anxiety of being in a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And, I said, if you're willing to take a chance on me, I can't promise anything from the beginning, but I know I can build it.
Yeah.
I was still like, yeah, let me set up my equipment on the first night. So we talked for a while, and we're walking, and he immediately agreed, to everything, and said, yeah, we'll give it a try, man. We'll check it out. We're walking out of Joko, put his hand on my back. He said, welcome back.
That's beautiful.
From another DJ, and especially someone taking a chance with it's the happy hour crowd. I'm coming in at the end of the happy hour crowd and trying to keep them. And so we had our first night, and I walked in, and mostly people I didn't know. And I set up my equipment, and my hands just started sweating. And I was like, this isn't for me anymore. I was wrong. So I started feeling all the same things at St. Patrick's Day. And then shout out to my homeboy Joey. He used to manage Dooley's in Sterling Heights. He started Drunken Trivia with me over 15 years ago, or almost 15 years ago. He showed up. He didn't just show up. He showed up with 3 people that used to come to trivia in the very beginning that I had like years. And then the newer crowd, I had some other friends show up, and I was like, dope. So I jumped into it. The whole crowd got into it. And at the end of the night, the owner was like, Matt, he was like, I know we can build this. That was a great time. Nothing but compliments. And then the waitress came over who's younger, and that's a big deal, like how the younger crowd is going to react to this. I'm an older dude, but I've gained, it's like the Pied Piper. Like every time I go, there's like era of chapters of people from Drunken Trivia. Like, this is the crowd from this bar. Now they're friends with the crowd from this bar. And it's become this family thing, and that's why it works. And the waitress was the one who said everything I needed to hear. She said, me and the waitresses were in the back. This felt like a Friday night. This is like the coolest thing ever. And I was like, so I went out. I walked out with my first paycheck of the year. And damn, it felt good. He said, we're going to make this work. We're going to keep it going. I'm not going to try it for 3 weeks and kick you out. We're going to make this happen. And
that's incredible, man. Because I remember, for one, I remember Drunken Trivia, obviously, and I always loved it. I absolutely loved it. But what I remember most is coming to see you when I was working for the radio station, and I was on a remote, and you happened to be at a Harley dealer not far from where I was at. So I stop at this huge ass Harley dealer, and that bitch is rocking. I'm like, okay, where's he at? I'm looking for him and shit. There he is in the middle by himself, just in the middle, just going ham.
I had them big boys going ham, and
they was all loving it too.
People who didn't like hip hop, they sure like hip hop remix.
They was loving it. It made it a space where I could walk in there comfortably and be gigging and shit. You know what I'm saying? So from seeing that joy and seeing how good you are at your job, to see you lose that, and then to hear that it made you doubt how good you are at being an entertainer, that's how heavy all of this is. And now for the normal human being going through COVID and losing their job and losing their passions and all that, it was rough. Now add on to the fact that you're in recovery as well and trying to fight that demon. It's unsurmountable, and I'm very, very proud of you, brother. Congratulations once again. Drunken Trivia. If you guys are ever in the Van Dyke, Utica area of Metro Detroit, it's at Tap and Barrel Grill. Make sure you hit up DJ Dirty White. Go on their website and tell them you want more trivia nights. I don't even care if you don't live here. Just go on there and be like, Dirty White's the best. You should book him again.
Now I'm hustling to get that DJ night. That's what I miss the most. I love trivia, but I love spinning music. So I'm trying real hard to get that DJ night somewhere.
It will manifest itself. So not only is this man a DJ, he is a very ill artist. And that's another chapter of, and it's wild how you're doing all this at once too. Anybody who does music should know to put an EP
Like
together,
my therapist.
bro. For real, like it's real, dude. Like the dude put out an EP and a EP and an album, right? Like almost simultaneously.
Well, I didn't put out an EP. Nothing's out yet. The album's coming out next
Finish
month.
them. You started finishing them.
Yeah, but
So
there's an
look at this guy. He's doing shows. Bring the Noise, April 29th, right? Not only is he doing shows, he's dropping projects.
and that album is that show is the release party for that album, The Rebuilding of a Broken Soul. And that album tells the whole story of the day. It's like a rock opera in a way. I also, Kujo, I don't know if you saw those posts. I couldn't write music either.
Yeah, I did see that.
I lost my livelihood. I lost everything. I couldn't write music. Instrumentals did it. About the only thing that I could do was mix music on a beat because it's basic math.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was just look through the songs and like and I hate to say it's the weirdest thing. The day that Bill Withers died was one of my favorite days of COVID because it gave me motivation.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, I'm going to start it with Lovely Day. You know, like everyone in the world now is singing Lovely Day, and it's weird, but his passing cheered me up. Thanks, David. I really appreciate that, man. And so when I went to see my therapist, he asked me what was wrong on my first day. And I said, the only thing I could think of to say without being able to write music and not having any work and nothing creative for somebody who's followed his dreams his whole life, I didn't care about anything that I did anymore.
Right.
I said, I feel like my soul is broken. That's all I could say. And so I went home. He had me all fired up and feeling better about myself. So I went home on Facebook and I promised everyone that I was going to rebuild my broken soul. Can you show it again?
I can show it again.
So
but I just got like the mini chills. I'm like, oh shit. All right.
So that moment I was like, let me try again. And Native Keys, he had given me this beat prior, about a year or two prior. And I messaged him from the gym. And this was before my sister died. I've had these problems my whole life. I just did a real good job at hiding and masking and pushing, to the side and focusing on other stuff instead. But I messaged him from the gym and I said, man, I'm having a really hard time today. And I'm thinking some real dumb shit. Like I need to write music. And within like 15 minutes, he sent me a beat over, it was sampling Hurt by Johnny Cash. And I wrote a verse that was like, I laugh like Robin Williams and smile like Chris Farley, but I'm dying inside. So I'm higher than Bob Marley. And I feel like Freddie Mercury. Somebody call the doc, it's an emergency. Yeah, I'm a gypsy like Bourdain. Sometimes I hate myself like Kurt Cobain, but I don't want to leave a blood stain. So I had already written that.
Sheesh.
And then a few months after the lockdown, I sat down with it again. And it just out of nowhere, I said, and this depression gets the best of me. It ain't no question that the stress is always testing me. It's messing with me mentally, expressing as I'm breathlessly flexing over this melody. And maybe it's my empathy, my chemistry. Maybe it's my destiny. My chemistry is empathy. I wish there was a remedy, a better way to ease the pain. Serenity is what, and I never wrote anything like that before. My stuff was all about partying. And I couldn't, like when we had Death by Stereo, they would ask me to focus on a topic and I couldn't. And then it's like I realized, and then I wrote a third verse, and this whole song ended up being about depression from the standpoint of an entertainer, because we can't turn it off. People like, everybody keeps saying like how we got to pay more attention to people like Robin Williams and Chester Bennington, and we don't. We don't. Instead, we make fun of the girl from Nickelodeon for walking around LA naked. That girl had to call 911 on herself. That tore my heart in half. You know who I'm talking? Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
She had to call 911 on herself. People were taking videos with her and TikToks, and she stripped down naked, hoping she'd get taken in.
Yeah.
And she called the cops on her damn self. But anyway, so I wrote that, and I said, I talked to my therapist, and I had told him originally I was going to tribute my sister by recreating this road trip we took when we were kids. And we did. Me and my brother took the trip from here all the way to Washington, everywhere cool in between and back. And as dope as that was, it just wasn't enough. So I told my therapist I want to do this album, but I didn't know that I could focus on one topic. And it came out and it ended up becoming way more than I ever could have imagined. We brought in my friend Jesse Stir Crazy to also help with the beats. And then I needed a new engineer. This is going to blow you guys' minds. I needed a new engineer, and I needed the right one. I needed someone I was comfortable with. I was probably going to be crying in the studio. This was going to be a hard album to make. And so I put out the feeler, and I had a couple people tag a couple people, and the one that stood out, he sent me a message. And his name's Steve Capp. And he said, I'm Steve Capp. I'm the head engineer of 54 Sound. 54 Sound. Eminem recorded the Slim Shady LP, EP, and the Marshall Mathers LP. So I was like, this is an iconic studio, you know. And so then he tells me his history, and he says, I was the former head engineer at Studio A, thinking back to my days as White Boy Rick. And I remember I was signed to a production deal with a guy who didn't let me control my own career. He tried to make me an Eminem Fred Durst crossover, and all my music sounded like Limp Bizkit with Eminem lyrics. And so I was like, we were recording at Studio A. So back then I didn't have control of anything. I don't think I ever talked to the engineer. So I just sat in the back like a little bitch, you know, and waiting for him to tell me to go rap. And I just happy to be in a good studio. So then we do the math, and I'm like, dude, you were my engineer. You know, I'm like, what's the ticket on this studio? Can I afford this? And he says, yeah, it's like a really well-priced studio. And I'm like, so all these years later, I'm going to control my own music now. I don't have anybody to go through. And everybody back then was telling me what to do. And I'm like, I don't have anybody. So then I sit down and tell him my story, and I told him about the album. And I'm like, are you willing to record this? And I played him what I had written so far over a couple instrumentals. And he said, I got to tell you something, Rick. I'm sober.
Wow.
He said, I'm celebrating sobriety also. I've gone through some real horrible things, and I suffer with anxiety and depression also. So then he yells, hey, Nick, and he calls in the studio manager. He says, Rick, this is Nick. Nick is sober. He lost his dad to alcohol.
Wow.
And then they introduced me to the intern and the other intern, and everyone in the studio is struggling with depression, anxiety.
No way. Like
instantaneously family. So then we recorded the first two songs that day that I found my dad on the floor. Actually, he called me and he said, I'm not going to charge you if you cancel. And I said, I'm getting kicked out because of visiting hours. So what am I going to do? Go home?
Right.
You know, like, you're going to get the best of me right now. Let's go. And recorded. Weirdly enough, I Tarantino'd the album. I recorded the song Rise from the Ashes, which is the peak, the happy point of the album. I recorded that first, and then a song called Misunderstood. Because one of these good friends one day, he asked me the worst thing you can ask any of us. And he said, why are you like this? Like, he all of a sudden had a problem, like, you know, and this guy is alcoholic by every definition. And I'm like, why am I like this? You've been by my side this whole time. You know why. Whole time. So I didn't have an answer. Instead, I just cut him completely out of my life, and washed my hands of that. And instead, I answered with an entire song.
That's beautiful.
And then I just kept going. And somehow, you know, I got the beat from Jesse, and I wrote the song about when my sister passed. But instead of it being so sad, it's a song about how I used her death to get sober. And I brought in 10 sober friends because I wanted a shout track on the chorus, and I could do that alone. I just recorded 20 times, but I brought in 10 of my sober friends. So when you hear this song, there's 10 sober people yelling, I'm sober. And when you hear the claps, it's all the sober
that's
people.
So dope. There's nothing, you can't replace that real feel of real people. Even if you do it yourself, change your voice, all of that. There's something about that human element and that all at the same time unity that you could just feel.
And this is how bad that shit is. One of them just had a 1 week relapse that put her in the hospital, and we almost lost her. So she's in recovery again, thank God. That's just how bad that stuff is. But so after that, then I wrote a song. I'm like, wait a minute. I struggle with these demons the most at 3 o'clock in the morning. A lot of us do. We wake up, we can't get back to sleep. And my dog died like 6 years ago, but for whatever reason, I'll start remembering his seizures, or worrying about my dad. Is my dad okay? Did he fall off the bed? Or just the shit you don't need to think about, you know? Like, one night I couldn't stop thinking about when my mom's moving home and we're driving her back, a rattlesnake getting my sister's dog, you know, because she's got my sister's dog, and you know, shit like that. So I'm like, I want something that's like a battle anthem, like Eye of the Tiger for people like us. That is not going to help us get back to sleep. It's just like a fighting anthem. So I wrote a song called The Battle, Darkness, about fighting your demons, but it's up tempo and heavy. It's almost like a Limp Bizkit song.
Right.
And then, you know, it's crazy. Like, and then I called Cancer, my boy Cancer. I wanted him to do the artwork, and I told him where the album was going, and he sent me the art that you showed. Can you show that again real quick? I didn't even catch this. So he sent the art to me. I said, that's perfect. Without him pointing out, he said, the chair in the room represents your solitude during the lockdown, and the walls are crumbling down around you. And then later we'll have something that's kind of similar. So I wish I could have got you the album cover.
That's fire.
But the album cover even makes it look like a rock opera, like an abandoned theater. And you know, he came through with the artwork perfectly, and Steve's mixing and everything. Thank you, JP. If you want to see, there's 2 songs from the album right now on YouTube. Just look up Dirty White. I think it's Misunderstood and Rise from the Ashes. Both have videos out right now.
That's fire.
And then it's crazy. So then I ended up writing a letter. The last song on the album is called The Letter. It's a letter to my therapist, my friends, my family, and it ends with a poem to my sister. And the way we recorded it, Steve is a genius. The way we recorded it, I walk back in to my solitude, and the only people there are the demons who just lost. And they just give me a stale poetry golf clap, and then they have to hear what I have to say to them. And I don't want to tell you how it goes down. I'm just going to tell you that when I finally listened to it from front to back, and what I've left out so far is my actual therapist is on this album.
No shit.
He opens the album, and he has 4 interludes all together. So the album plays out like our therapy session.
Wow.
He talks to me, and my replies are the songs. And when we recorded it, he hadn't heard the songs. So I would play him in between. Said, okay, now that you did that, you know, like those are the last 2 songs. So he would do his thing, and then I would play him the next 2. So then he nailed it perfectly. So it like literally plays out like a rock opera, and it's cut in half between Act 1 and Act 2, because right in the middle it gets more upbeat and positive.
Yeah.
There's a song called Good Day that's got island vibes, and it's all about like we could have a day where we don't do anything. We just weren't sad. And that was a great day, you know, like
we all need that.
That was a great day. So it came out like we had brought in my boy Gordy to play some guitars. I had 2 incredible DJs rip all over the album, 902 Hype and DJ Bet. And it's just, it's a perfect album. When it takes me 30 minutes to get home from the studio, and I had to go get a headlight at O'Reilly's. O'Reilly's. So I put it in for the first time, and I told him, even though I could do it digital, I'm like, I want it on CD, just old school. So I popped it in, and when I heard my very last line on the album, I couldn't even go in there because I was sobbing. It's my Mona Lisa. I swear on everything. Like this one has me making Shank make phone calls. You know what I mean? This one in the EP, I'm like, Shank, it's time to make some phone calls. Like, then this album is going to help people. And we had a private listening party.
Wow.
And what's crazy is I've always played my music for people. And this one, I hadn't even played for my best friends. And my girlfriend barely heard them, and she lives with me. So I was just terrified. And these are all my closest friends, you know, like in the room, or like people who were involved in the album. And my friend Jolene said everything I wanted to hear. She said, everyone in that room heard the same album, but walked away with something different. She said, I personally needed to hear track 5. And she said, I know someone else in there who needed to hear another one. And she said, this album is going to save people, man. And it's not, you know, like it's a tattooed neck rapper that's connecting with them. Like nobody in my position wants to talk about that. They'll like mention it in a song. I heard this great song, a rapper was talking about it, but then he started cursing about therapy in the song. And I just don't agree with that, because I disagreed with therapy also until I found Josh Dostock, and that guy saved my life.
Yeah, you got to find the right people. I tell people that all the time, man. So So that's a lot. Hold on.
Trying
I'm
to
thinking
prescribe me.
about as a musician myself and a writer myself and going through these processes like you have. I've been trying to kind of put something together, but like you said, that writer's block and that missing of a spark to be able to just get all that, because I bet you as a writer a lot of times it takes you a minute to come up with a masterpiece, right? But I bet you this shit came out of you quicker than any other songs that have ever come out of you.
Bro, they flew out of me. I just realized yesterday was 1 year from the day that Steve got tagged, and we have an album and an EP done. And what's crazy is, I'll talk about that in a second. Unless you want the EP, there's a crazy story behind the EP because someone at that listening party asked a question that kind of, it didn't mess me up, but she said, do you think that you're ever going to write fun stuff? Like, you ever going to flex on the mic again? She wasn't saying it disrespectfully.
Right.
Or is this going to be your niche and your niche? And I was like, that's a really good question. I said, because I've written one song since then, but it's another song about grief. But it's an up-tempo, positive song about grief. It's about living extra for the people you lost. Like, it's a really, really positive song. And I said, so I don't know. And then she left and I couldn't stop thinking about that. And I was sitting on 2 beats from Stir Crazy. Boy, I went bananas. The one is called Dirty White is the name. And I've been going out, because I do photos now too. And I've been calling all my hip hop friends to let me come out and take photos of them DJing and stuff. And I was at one event and I was just kind of looking around and not a lot of people knew who I was. And I get that I disappeared for 10, 11 years and it's not an ego thing. It's just like, I've done some things and you know what I mean? It's like, I'm looking around the room. I'm like, cool. I rocked with Proof too. Cool. I played at St. Andrews too. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like, I'm not in these conversations and it's not ego, but I'm like, we brought DMC to the Fillmore. Like, that's when I got above y'all, and I don't flex that. But then I was like, I need to talk about that. So I wrote a song called Validation. Originally the hook was going to be like, so why you leave me out your conversations? But then I changed it to, so go ahead and leave me out your conversations. Became saying like, I don't need your validation. And like, I've only played it so far for my 2 best friends, Mike and Jamie, and both of them had the same reaction. And I never got that. Like, Mike he has attention span of a walnut. I love him. But he was rolling and he just goes, what the fuck? And I was like, am I crazy? Is this fire? He's like, I never heard you write like this. So I'm like, it didn't just unlock something to write stuff emotionally. Like, I beasted up. Like, this whole thing broke me all the way to the soul. Like I said, I fixed it from this. I worked so hard to get it back that I forced that art out of me and went through some things so heavy. There's a lot that we're leaving out, like, a lot. Like,
I can't wait, man. I'm excited because I feel like there's, like she was saying, like, I needed to hear track 5. Somebody else needed to hear. I need to hear this thing in totality because of what I know about you and because of the journey I know you took. Hearing it all come out of you is going to be so therapeutic for me, and probably almost as therapeutic as it was for you to produce this and get this out of yourself. So I think that's the really cool thing about those of us in recovery who actually look for other people's shares and take things from people. Like, we've opened our souls and our hearts up to really receive what other people are going through. So for you to give us this package and to give us this gift, I want to thank you before I even hear it. And I know it will affect a lot of change for sure.
At the listening party, I remember too, me and Morgan's the one of the interns, and we were both of us were just sobbing uncontrollably through it. Like, a lot. Well, she wasn't sobbing, I was, but she was crying too because of how we went there in that studio. Like, when I say we went there, especially when we brought in Josh, my therapist, and when I recorded that last song, The Letter, I actually regressed back into my dark place. Like, it gives me, like, whenever I even talk about that lockdown, like, it gives me severe PTSD. Like, I was at one point, I didn't sleep for a long time, and I forgot where I was going. Oh yeah, so it took me back for like it wasn't just the winter blues. Like January, February, it's just two of the most depressing months I could remember. Like it was just wild. And I would tell people that, like, I hope I can bounce back. Like, I just put myself here this time.
I think your bounce back has been absolutely incredible, and I know it takes a lot of, I want to say, self-awareness, I guess, to have to give yourself that credit. But I want to tell you, bro, make sure every single day that you look in the mirror and you give yourself the credit for where you are and for the things you've accomplished, because it is no small feat. Especially creatively, those of us who are creative, like, all that shit shuts down when you have anxiety and depression and PTSD. So to see you fighting that battle is 100% the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. So what I want to do for you is, as the guy who always does the trivia, as the guy who's always controlling the questions, I think it's time for you to be someone who gets to play the game.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a little sober drunken trivia. I know you guys have varying interests and whatnot, so I wanted to make it fair for both of you guys, and I just chose the topic of celebrities in recovery. I think both of you kind of should know some celebrities in recovery.
I am so bad at trivia, but
I made it pretty easy though. Within each of these scenarios, I give you hints. So all you really got to do is pay attention to the clue, and you should get it, the answer. Those of you in the comments, I'm going to give you guys a second after I read the scenario to chime in and let us know who you think I'm talking about. Who was in here last time saying the random shit? It probably was JP. Yeah. JP, if you get even one of these right, I'll send you a prize of some sort. And don't be cheating either. All right, scenario one. Person one. After debuting in a movie with his father at age 5, this Manhattan native grew up to be one of the most beloved superheroes in the world. Before he could fly, he had several high-profile arrests in the late 1900s and early 2000s while misusing alcohol, cocaine, and heroin. He spent time in California prison and a state-run rehab facility. He has had an ironclad recovery since 2003. Who are we talking about?
That's Robert Downey Jr. That's the greatest recovery of all time, right?
It is. And that's why I had to start with it, because I feel like that was going to be the easy one. But you see how I did that for you, Nikki? If you couldn't get that off of the ironclad recovery, I tried to make it easy for you.
And I apologize. I go for blood when I'm on this.
You good. That's how it's supposed to be. I like that you look at him. See how you see inch forward a little bit?
For a fake buzzer.
Yeah, honestly, just keep going for it, because then I don't have to answer wrong and make myself look stupid. So
I was going to have it to where y'all had to say your name first and to get there. I'm like, man, Nikki would get crushed. So I'm just going to leave it up to open forum.
Yeah, just let me lose in peace, please.
Factory. All right. Number 2. She was a 17-year-old actress on family-friendly TV when she said she first used cocaine. As her singing career took off, so did her problems with drugs and alcohol. In 2010, she first sought treatment for addiction, along with mental health issues, including bipolar and eating disorders. Her debut album, Don't Forget, peaked at number 2 on the charts, and by 2011, she was in rehab, followed by sober living in 2013. I kind of hid the clue on that one, and you have to really know who she is, I think, to get that clue too.
Is it Demi Lovato?
Damn. Ashton knew that too. Look at you, Ashton. It is Demi Lovato. Now, I think as far as recovery stories go, I think hers has been a very interesting one, because I think she mixed it in with a lot of her mental health stuff too, because of the aliens and all this other crazy shit she was saying. I think it made it a little harder for people to be empathetic with her alcohol and drug habits. So like, oh, she's just lost it. She's just crazy. They didn't take her seriously about getting sober. So I think she's still sober. I don't actually know.
She is.
I think she is. Yeah.
No,
she's doing real good.
Good. I love to hear all that. Person number 3. This one surprised me because I didn't know this person was in recovery. Excuse me. He's been nominated for several Academy Awards, but the actor went through some hard times on his way to success. He says years of drugs and alcohol misuse threatened to ruin his life. And in 2004, at the age of 29, he made the decision to stop using them altogether. He's since become one of Hollywood's most bankable leading men. Turns out not taking a pill is what truly made him limitless.
Keanu Reeves.
No, sir.
Lawrence Fishburne.
No,
I'm
sir.
told about Matrix people.
No, sir.
I have no idea.
Jesse says Tom Hardy. Incorrect. The clue is in the last line. Turns out not taking a pill is truly what made him limitless. Limitless.
Well, then it's oh my
Limitless.
God, it's Captain Jack. It's Robert. It's
Nope.
maybe not. It's an actor.
Where'd she go?
It is Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. Yes, indeed it is. I was very surprised.
We saw that stupid movie.
I love that movie. Nobody saw the show. Nobody watched the show. The movie was the shit, though. Don't get it twisted. That movie was sweet. All right. I tried to make this one easy for y'all. And let me get through the whole thing before you say it, too, because I laughed writing this one.
Justin Bieber.
No. He's a bad mother. Shut your mouth. One of the most successful actors of all time. This legend has appeared in over 100 films. He's also been open about his alcohol and cocaine addiction struggles, which began in the 1970s. He got sober in 1991 and has been clean since. Now when he flies, he's sick of snakes and addiction.
Samuel I couldn't even not say it.
Right. Like you should have, if you've seen the new Shaft.
Like fly snakes.
Right. I had to throw that in there because in case the first line didn't give it away, I had to throw that in there.
Samuel L. Jackson, is that who you said it was?
That's the one.
Can I point out the best scene in Snakes on a Plane real quick?
Yes.
It's when a guy goes to the bathroom and it bites his penis. Throws his hand up and says, "Get off my dick."
That whole movie was good to me. Like I didn't care that people thought it was whatever. I thought that movie was fucking hilarious. So everybody else can kick rocks.
That wasn't your first reaction to not rip it off. He says,
yeah, I mean, well, in hindsight, though, you think if it's something's got his teeth ripped and you rip it off, you kind of it's counterintuitive. But you know, I could never say what I would do with a snake on my dick. Sorry, I don't know. All right, last one. All of her loves all of sobriety. This Sports Illustrated swimsuit model has been in print, magazines, movies, TV shows, and more. She began her sobriety journey on July 18th, 2021, and has had a legendary recovery since.
The co-host of Lip Sync Karaoke. I can't remember her name right now. I follow her on Instagram too.
You got it.
Super cool.
She's really cool.
Through like 2 miscarriages.
I have no idea.
She gets a lot of flack too.
John Legend's wife.
Yes.
I don't know her name.
Chrissy Teigen.
Yes, damn it.
Chrissy Teigen. And that is it. That has been Sober Drunken Trivia. I think you did good.
He did good. I didn't do good.
You didn't even try.
I tried, but I have no idea. I am so bad. I know, like, I'm not somebody who knows actors and like famous people by like their actual names. I know them as like whatever their name is in the
their
movie
characters.
Yeah, so I don't know like who they actually are.
That's hilarious. Now I see why you like doing trivia so much. So every week I do try to do some sort of segment of questions or like, you know, little games and stuff like that. So I was super over the moon to have you do trivia today because it's already a part of what we do. So it was incredible to get to be the host of that for 1 week. And I will definitely be coming out to check out Drunken Trivia live and in person.
Proud of you both. It's real cool that you do a show like this.
Thanks, brother. I really appreciate that, man.
I'm actually waiting to get more time to start a monthly about mental health and depression.
I will definitely be down for that. At the network, we have a show called We Outside, and he actually just had us do a roundtable yesterday. And we want to start doing stuff like that once a month as well. So I think if enough of us do stuff once a month, we could have 30 days where people could go, you know, every single day they could be somewhere looking at something, getting some good knowledge and some good positive feedback out of the world.
The people that think they're too cool, you know, like to talk about it, need to talk about it more. I can't tell you how many names that I could point you out, and Mal Clemens had pulled me to the side to talk about their depression because I went public about it on Facebook. So it's like I lost so many friends because of those posts, but the 7 or 8 people that I helped feels amazing.
That's all that matters.
I think something else that I really loved about, you know, what you shared today is just the fact that like you didn't give up anything that you enjoy getting sober, because I feel like that's something that holds people back. Like a lot of people who would have like DJ'd or like were big in like the bars and stuff would never even think to get sober because of just that fact in itself. So the fact that you could do that and you didn't really have to like give it all up, I think is awesome, and can like show a lot of people that, you know, you don't have to give this stuff up just to get sober, but you can still get sober and live a better life. So I think that's, you know, a really cool part of your story, and I appreciate you telling it here today.
Thank you. And just go slow. You know what I mean? Like maybe I needed to wait 3 years to get back to it. I needed time. You know, that's a tough loss. Some say a sibling is almost worse than a parent, you know, because you don't have things from your siblings. You know, they know everything. She was my big sister, you know.
It's wild, man. Again, man, thank you so much. I've been in a state of crazy anxiety and excitement and happiness over the fact that this was happening. I talked to Rick before last week's show, and he was like, you know, my 3 years is coming up in another week if you want to push. And I was like, holy shit, like, oh my God. So
I was so excited for 3 years sober that I jumped the gun and celebrated last month. But yeah, I had it too, for what it's worth. That's one thing that's very new to me is I get nervous before I do anything like this. I get nervous before I go on stage. I never had any of that before.
I'm the same way. I never dealt with anxiety before, but now that I'm sober, I deal with it a lot. It's definitely gotten better, but yeah, it was new for me too.
We're some of the strongest people on the planet to not. You're right. Thank you for saying that. That's what made it so hard. I'm trying to still go out and be social with my friends and go to their birthday parties where they're having them, you know, and sometimes people don't understand. You know, I had a real good friend get upset because I wouldn't go to the casino with them. And I'm like, well, I don't gamble. There's only one other thing to do there. Facts. You know, I feel as it's going to be a trigger to me. He got real upset with me, but got over it.
Yeah, it's all about what you need, not what, you know, us people pleasers. Us people pleasers have a hard time not pleasing people and pleasing ourselves. So thank you for staying strong, man, and showing that example to everybody. Last thing on the menu, man, we do last call. So any last shout outs you might want to do that you may have forgot? Let everybody know where they can find you on your socials. Also let them know where they can find all your projects, where they can follow your photography, where they can go to Drunken Trivia, or they can. This guy's he's got 1,000 things going on. So tell these people where to find you at.
I'm gonna be doing it all.
First and most important, Patty Thayer from the Thayer Care Foundation. They're a nonprofit that help people find help if you're having hard times with money or even getting there. You can go to the Thayer Care Foundation and they'll find you a therapist that can work with you in your financial situation. That's the only reason I was able to get in there. I was flat broke. I didn't have insurance to cover that. And Joshua Jostock from Hope Heal Change Counseling. He's incredible. He's just the best, you know, like he might be at our show. Like he's just awesome. So I wanted to shout them out real quick. And real quick, Steve Capp from 54 Sound, Gordy O'Shea, DJ Bet, 902 Hype, Jamie Brady, Morgan, Izzy, Nick, Joe that owns the studio, everybody that was involved in that, Cancer the God who did the artwork, like everybody treated that like the sensitive thing that it was. They treated it like it was their own story, and I can't thank them enough. And it comes out May 2nd. It'll come out. It's getting denied all over the major streaming because of samples. But if you come to my Bandcamp, we get a lot more of that support money anyways. It's a way better avenue, and they have an app you can stream on. The physical CD will be out, and there's also a huge surprise for that show on the 29th. And if you come out to that, it's a very therapeutic show. Our show is, I've always been really energetic, but now I get people snatching my hand on stage and getting in my ear and telling me that I'm like helping these people. And so I've started now talking about it at shows. And I remember the first thing when my first show is I know we got to wrap this up.
Oh, you're good, bro.
After COVID, everything changed when I looked out the crowd. I said, how many people are going through something right now? And that whole crowd raised their hand. And the next song I did was we covered Stressed Out by 21 Pilots. And I sobbed hearing how loud they sang it. And I was like, I need to do more of this. Nobody in my position does this. They kind of do. Macklemore does a little bit. Mac Miller did a lot. but you don't get enough people talking about it. It's usually just
Facts.
emo music that talks about it. Like one of these songs, I'm flexing like crazy, and I said, I was like, sometimes I want to rock my own skull with a ball bat, and then we even have the sound of a bat hitting a ball, and like, you know what I mean? Like that's a loose way of saying I thought about flipping the switch, and
Right.
like, you know what I mean? Like hearing that in that way, some people were like, "Ooh, that's rough," and I'm like, "Trust me, man. All these people, you think Chesterfield or Chester Bennington just suddenly got sad,
Right. Check on your strong friends, man. Everybody's got to check on their strong friends, especially ones like you said, the ones that are doing this work, the ones that are helping out. We had a situation go on with somebody close to us that we weren't sure if he was going to, be all right for a minute. And it's one of the strongest people. Like we all look up to this individual. So check on your strong friends, man. Don't ever just look at somebody and see what the face value of it is and take that as they're all right. Like if you actually
the strongest guy we know, without saying a name, from back in the day where we all hung out, where we stayed, or where y'all stayed, our strongest friend hit me with that. He was going through it. One of the last times I seen him, and that shook me to the core. I was like, oh my God, like this guy is going through it.
I can never do this if he can't do it. Like
that's how it sort of feels. But for the socials, everything is at Dirty White DJ across the board, and there's now a Vivo setup. So as far as YouTube, that one is they chose it, so I think it's Dirty White High because of the High Life Social Club. So that's it on most platforms. But like I said, this EP, when it's ready, that one will be on major streaming.
Beautiful. And we'll definitely be tagging and posting, and we'll make sure you guys absolutely know and can have access to all of those things for sure. Nikki, what you got for last call?
I just want to shout out DJ Dirty White because I love this. I thought this was an awesome show. I really loved having a guest. You're actually our first special guest, so that's super special as well. 3 years sober. Congrats to you. Yeah, it was awesome, and I'm really glad I got to sit and listen and hang out for a bit.
Beautiful. My last call today is a little bit different. I'm sorry.
It always goes both ways. You guys are an inspiration to me too. We all need each other. Like, I know somebody who's celebrating 20 years, and they tell me they never celebrate any less, and it's never any easier. So it's a constant fight. Like people don't understand. And I have a lot of people that still drink that tell me they're afraid to stop for all those reasons. They're going to lose friends. Their social life is going to change. So it's some scary shit to do. So bless every single person that tunes into the show and the both of you.
I agree 100%. My last call, of course, as usual, my wife, my rock, my queen, the one that keeps me sane, the one that's the one that I do all this for the most part. And also I want to big shout out my big brother, who Rick knows, who I actually know through. He's home from Atlanta for a while. He's coming up here to get all of his scruples together and start shooting film and recording music again and doing all the things that make him the great man that he is. So big shout out to my brother. I'm very glad to have him here, which you guys will meet him soon at some point. We'll figure out some way to get him on.
I better see him while he's in town.
Hey,
I was wondering when you walked in the background.
We were just talking about you too. So we will most definitely be linking up. Surprises.
Hey, that dude can back up, man. That like everybody only talks about the D. Nobody ever talks about the Clem having Corona and M and everyone walking around.
Big facts.
Except we also had Uncle Cracker, which was kind of strange. So.
Big facts. So we're definitely gonna have you back on the show, man. Like I think one of the big parts of No Hangover, I think, is having people be family and come through whenever you want to come through. Doors always open, bro. Always love to have you. We definitely got to catch up more in real life for sure. Yeah. But for now, I guess we will bid you guys adieu. As I always say, thank you guys so much for coming. We do this show for you. I hope you guys took a lot from this episode. And thank you for sticking with us. And if you've watched up to this point and you go to bed right now, congratulations. You will wake up with no hangover. Thank y'all. We love you so much. We'll see you next week. Deuces.
Bye.